Hello, fellow classmates. This is my group's presentation or whatnot on the settings for The Great Gatsby. So, yeah, our first setting would be the West Egg, and this is where Nick and Gatsby live. It's where all of Gatsby's parties take place. It's the place that Gatsby and Daisy meet for the first time in 5 years. It is where Gatsby is murdered by George Wilson, where George Wilson also kills himself. And it's also where Gatsby's funeral takes place, so a large amount of the story takes place in West Egg. Our next setting would be Manhattan, and this is the place where Nick comes to the conclusion that no marriage is perfect. It's also where Tom and Myrtle's apartment is. It's where Tom gets the puppy for Myrtle, which ends up being a big part of the story later on. And it's also where Tom and Gatsby kind of have their argument over Daisy, their big argument. Our next setting would be the Valley of Ashes. And it's a place that represents poverty and hopelessness. It's also it's a fantastic farm where ashes grow like wheat into ridges and hills and grotesque gardens. It's a gray land and spasms of bleak dust. It's also a place where the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg are always staring down onto you. The eyes of T.J. Eckelberg are blue and gigantic. It's also where George and Myrtle live, and George owns a garage there. And it is where Myrtle is killed when she's hit by Daisy driving Gatsby's car. Our next setting is the Midwest. This is where Nick is from. He's from Chicago, the Midwest in Chicago. And it's also where his parents have a business. Gatsby claims to be from the Midwest, but he says he's from San Francisco. So that's kind of when you realize that Gatsby might be lying about himself, just because obviously San Francisco is not in the Midwest, but Gatsby says he's from the Midwest. And it's also where Daisy lived for a short amount of time, and that's pretty much it for the Midwest. And then the last setting that we have is the East Egg, and that's the place that symbolizes the old money, like the family money and everything. The East Egg despises the West Egg because of all the partying and the flashy lifestyle. And it's where Tom and Daisy live, and it's also where Nick meets Jordan Baker and Tom for the first time. This is wherever Tom begins to suspect Daisy and Gatsby having their affair at Tom and Daisy's house. And it's also where Gatsby meets Pammy, Tom and Daisy's daughter, for the first time. So a pretty good amount takes place in the West Egg as well. So yeah, that's about it on our settings. And yeah, that's our project.